So excited about who's next. Alli Privitt is our next guest on Fempreneur Coach Connection, and she's talking about becoming the strongest versions of yourself. She's a speaker, coach, and trainer that helps individuals and businesses elevate into the strongest versions of themselves, where each day is built with intentional space to avoid burnout and instead is fueled with sustainable strategies that they can implement anytime, anywhere, and at any level. Through personal coaching and training, along with lessons on mindset, habits, and nutrition, she teaches you how to get stronger in all areas of your life. I'm beyond excited to welcome this powerful, strong woman to the show. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wanted something more? More in business, home life, relationship life? Say word if you agree. Word. In 2019, I created a business for coaches to market in this wacky way, virtual events, all with a 7-to-7 job. I'm a full-time nurse, by the way. And like you, there were just not enough hours in the day. My partner was feeling alone, and generally, this wasn't fun anymore. But then I realized I needed to build myself back up, mind, body, soul, and even my business. So I created a show that does just that, interviewing all types of coaches, life, wellness, fertility, career, financial, wealth, and business. Join me on my journey with some of the best coaches who want to empower other coaches to live their best lives and build businesses that fulfill them. My name is Nicole Beatty, and this is Fempreneur Coach Connection. All right, welcome to the show, Alli.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Oh my goodness, I'm excited to have you because, as I was reading up on you and your bio, I was like, oh, she really talks about a lot of different things, and she talks about strength training, and I'm like, okay, well, this is the girl I need in my life right now to really focus on being prosperous in many ways, including my physical condition. So I'm excited that you're here.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm excited for the show.
Yeah. So, okay. Tell me when you say I'm going to get right into it because,
Yeah, let's do it.
It gets kind of like hairy with some phrases. And I want to make sure I understand, what do you mean about becoming the strongest version of yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let me kind of tell you where a little bit about my background. So I have always been like a thrill seeker, adrenaline junkie, and like pushing my body, mind to like extreme levels. And so I've run multiple marathons. And my last full marathon that I ran, I was like, oh, you know what? I am so strong. I'm so awesome. I can do all these cool things. I just ran, 26 miles, 42 kilometers. And I was hanging out with some friends, and they were like, hey, if you can do all that, I bet you can do a pull-up. And I was in the gym, and I couldn't lift my body even up like an inch. And it kind of started something inside of me where I was like, okay, yes, I can do all of these things, but I don't feel like physically strong in other areas. I felt so imbalanced. So I went on this journey of getting physically stronger. And in that process, I did a lot of mindset work. I had to change my habits and how I view things. I had to do a lot of inner work, and that inner strength, along with just long hours at the gym and putting in the work. There's something that kind of clicked and transformed inside of me. And it's where now, being able to do some of the ridiculous lifts that I can do, and I've almost gotten 10 body weight pull-ups, is just getting other people to be strong physically is the journey that helps you get strong in all other areas. And so I guess I've just been able to build the strongest version of myself through that journey. And then I've always kind of coached people informally, and I just decided to formalize it and help other people and see their own transformation with, yes, getting physically stronger, but then also doing a lot of inner work through that process. There's something about committing to yourself and prioritizing yourself and your body, because you only get one body, that really does make a difference overall. So that's kind of like when I think of being strong, it is a physical like process, like lifting weights and doing things in your body that you never thought possible. But that has transformational effects in every other area of your life.
Okay. So whoa. Okay. So first off, the fact that you actually, ran a marathon and did all these kinds of miles, like kudos to you. I've never even dreamed of doing it. I'm the one on the side. Good job. You want like some, popcorn or you're doing, you know what I mean? That's me. But, I'm interested in how to get over the mindset to even just get to running the marathon. I don't know. There's a block again. Y'all know me. I'm trying to get some coaching for my daggone. So when you don't want to exercise, and you're talking about it's more than exercise for you. I mean, it's a mental, it's a physical thing, but it's more than just I'm exercising. You know what I mean?
Yes.
How do you get beyond just I don't want to exercise. Like, but I'm sure there's more there. I'm sure that. So you be the coach and coach me on that.
Okay. So I would kind of start like, do you see yourself as an active person, as someone who even enjoys working out? Like, do
No.
you? No. Okay. So
No.
like, is that something that you even want to add into your life?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I don't know if you know the background of myself. I'm a registered nurse.
Yes.
So I know and see every single time I go into almost every patient's room, the dangers of what not being physically active, not being healthy has done to people, what the ramifications. So in one way, it's a fear, like, I don't want to be like them. But another way, it's just, it's just about feeling good. And people who exercise seem to feel good. Like they're like, the endorphins, I haven't gotten them yet. The endorphins y'all talk about, but like you guys seem to feel good and you just have that energy and like you do stuff.
Yes, there is something magical that happens when you exercise and move your body and kind of stretch your body. There is like this, there is a block you have to get over. I will say that, that you're going to have to, you have to really figure out what's your why. So let me give you an example. Some of my clients are, they're moms, they're just feeling their age and they're feeling like the creaks in their body, or they have aging parents and they're seeing, just like you saw as a nurse, that their body and taking care of it is important. So then that translates into what can I do today to just what will make my body feel good. And so you can start small with a stretching practice or a yoga practice or walking around the block. That you ultimately have to find something that you enjoy.
Yes.
You have to find something that you enjoy that gets you to a place of consistency that you can then build from. And it is exploring the why. It is exploring, what is potentially holding you back, or like how do you want to feel? And all of those things come into strength building. Like if you're not doing something, there's a reason. You're going to have to uncover it. And it has to be a strong enough why that you do it even on the days you don't feel like it. At some point,
that's true.
Yeah, right? Like at some point you'll kind of get over that part of strength building, like, or an active lifestyle, like it becomes a part of you. But if it's not already a part of your lifestyle and you don't see yourself in that lifestyle, then it's hard to go from like 0 to 100, right? So it's about starting somewhere, and it's about finding a really deep why. Like why do you want those endorphins? Like, or why do you want to be stronger?
Yeah.
What would drive that beyond the day-to-day busyness and hectic lifestyle that you already have? And like finding that inner peace is a huge motivator for just doing rather than thinking about it.
Okay. This show has really been about me, but it's about really working through things and what are my mindset blocks. And for sure with exercise and nutrition, there's been, and I'm sure a lot of the people listening, there's been those blocks. Yes, we do want to get physically stronger. I mean, mentally too, because it all really truly goes together, but it is something. It is a block from getting there. What do you say to those clients? You even kind of go, yeah, no, you need to, you need to work through that with a therapist, get out of my office. Like, what do you say to people who come to you like me? Like, yeah, no, I just don't do that.
Well, I mean, if it's not something that you want to do, like I'm not going to be able to convince you that you want to. But it does sound though like you have some areas that you're like, I want to get started. And that's a fun piece for me, is that like, okay, let's find some activity that you enjoy that we can just get on your calendar. And let's just then talk through how you felt before, during, and after it. Because once you start talking about, you actually have to do something. You do have to do something. Like, so we would find something that you enjoy doing, or in your mind you think you would enjoy doing, and then evaluate that. And then you go from there. And at some point you're going to find something that you enjoy, something you can do with your family, something that makes you feel good. And then it can snowball. It really can. I mean, I've had clients who were like, I've never weight trained ever before. And now they're like 5 days a week. They're like so hardcore. Now, don't get me wrong. It did not start like that on day one or even month one. And it's a process. It's a journey. And I think when you realize that your body and how you take care of it, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to make progress. You let go of a lot of the things that like today doesn't matter. Well, yeah, maybe it doesn't, but like 10 minutes is better than no minutes. 1 minute is better than no minutes. And I tell my clients that are struggling on any particular day, 11 minutes. I want you to go walk for 11 minutes. Tell me how you feel. And if you're truly like exhausted, then 11 minutes will be more than enough of just walking. But usually it's not a physical tiredness, it's a mental tiredness, and the 11 minutes resets you and then kind of clears out your mind to then being like, oh, well, okay, I'm already like warmed up. What else could I do? So that's another thing, is it's really about getting you started on something that makes you feel good. And from there, it can usually snowball.
Okay, that makes sense. But I also like quote that. I really do like how you said, 1 minute is better than no minutes because, when I think of exercise, I'm like, okay, well, I got to do 30 minutes, cardio. I'm like, I don't want to do none of that. Like it's hot or, for people, I mean, I'm getting down to the basics here. It's hot or, especially for, again, this is going deeper for plus size people. It's physically hard to actually do exercise. And I'm not saying that as an excuse. I'm saying, have you ever had an F cup and running? It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks, y'all. Like, have you ever, there's certain things. Have you ever had to, do planks or whatever you call them, things where you got to get down on the ground and, whatever. That is not, it's physically sometimes impossible for certain exercises to go with certain bodies. So, yeah, I just say that for that. But you gave me something to think about. Quote that. 1 minute is better than no minutes. And I can receive that for sure. So, okay, let's get away from coaching me because that's what ends up happening on the show a lot of times. But let's go into kind of like your 3 pillars here. And the first one is getting out of your head, which obviously I need to do. So can you talk to us more about that and how we can do that?
Absolutely. So we kind of touched on that a little bit, and getting out of your head means like you have all these buzzing thoughts, and on average, the average person has like 70,000 thoughts a day, and most of those can be negative. So retraining like anything that comes across like an I can't statement, like I can't go for a run today. I have to do X, Y, and Z, or I can't, do my meditative practice today because of whatever, X, Y, and Z. And it is getting out of your head and instead flipping the script of what can I do today, and being very specific on what you can do, and holding yourself accountable to that, whether that's, writing it down, scheduling it out, and doing something. So, just committing to something and going with it for that day or that week or that month or however long you are like in your head about something. But I find that the thoughts of like I ruminate on and I just stay there and they loop and they loop and they loop. if I take action on those thoughts, I usually release a lot of what I was just looping in my head, and I spend way less time than thinking about it rather than just doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that, kind of resonated with me there as you were talking about it is that if you set the time, one of the things is, I'll be like, I'll do it in the morning. That never works because I
Mm,
never do it. That never works. So it's like, and also I've also in the past had a reward system. And I don't know if a reward system just doesn't work for me, but like, okay, which is probably wrong. And you're probably gonna like, no, Nicole, no, Nicole. But being like, hey, if I go for and do this exercise, I'm gonna go to, a fast food chain and get something as a reward, which I know you're like, oh, sheesh, no, don't do that. But
that's a hard thing to unprogram, because
yeah,
I know personally I was raised where like food was a reward.
yeah,
And that is a huge, like, that's, I mean, in my opinion, like, toxic diet culture.
it
And
is.
but it is a very difficult thing to get out of your head, like, because it's everywhere. Like this whole idea, like, oh, if you run a mile, you're working off this much of a Snickers bar, or like if you do cardio for this long, you can eat this much. And it is like,
Yes,
no, 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 like we can't associate like food with like our work ethic. Like those need to be totally separate. But
separate. Okay.
that is a huge mindset piece and block, or rather, like, it can be, because like then you're like, oh well, if I only do 5 minutes, then I'm only like, that's only like a marshmallow, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you're like, oh well, it's not good enough, like 5 minutes isn't good enough. And like, what if 5 minutes daily, I mean, that's a compound effect. That 5 minutes daily, if you committed to 5 minutes a day to, I don't know, doing something movement wise, that's a lot of minutes. That's over 1,500 minutes. So I mean, there's something to be said about that, and that has nothing to do with like how much food you're putting in your mouth. Those are,
Right.
but a lot of people struggle with that for sure.
So tell me, like, should we be like counting calories? And you know how like you're on the treadmill and it said, oh, 400 calories, and you're like, oh yeah, let me go to the fast food. Okay, I can get like something that's taught, a nice Snickers bars. It's only 1,000 calories. You know what I mean? Like, should we be counting calories at all? Because that also becomes kind of like annoying. I don't know if that's a way of just like, oh, I gotta count this calorie or,
Yeah.
by the thing. Should we be doing that?
I'll preface this with, I am not a nutritionist or a registered dietitian by any means. However, I will say that knowing how to fuel your body correctly, and if you've never tracked macros, if you've never tracked calories before, if you don't even have a baseline for like what you're eating and how you're eating, then you have nowhere to improve. So this is something that I honestly cannot remember where I heard it, but I know like, this is not me, but it is what gets measured gets like modified, or gets you work on it. Now I'm forgetting the whole phrase, but
It's
like,
okay.
if you measure something, like in if you just get a baseline. So something that I'll do with my clients is I'll just have them take like photos of their food,
Mhm.
and then I'll just be like, let's just have a conversation about what you ate and how you felt and on those days. And that's just opening up the door. Like, most people know what they need to change, but when you put it in front of yourself and just hold yourself accountable to that, then you can really kind of dial in and make small changes. So I would say, if you've never tracked, like, and have no idea how many calories you're even putting in your body every day, then you probably do want to do that as a baseline. At some point, though, you learn how to gauge that and understand how your body is like how you are fueled. And I think that's much more important. I personally rarely track my calories, probably because I know now, having like, I know how to do it, so I can look at something and almost automatically know how many calories it is. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is how it is. But like, intuitively, I know how to fuel my body.
Yeah.
And I don't, I think the number on a scale is one data point for how you feel. Yet it has a lot of reason for how people make themselves feel about that certain number. And culturally, there's a lot of stigma around our weight number. And yet for me, I don't really care personally the number on the scale. If your body feels good and you're strong and you're moving your body, like there's definitely things that can make you feel better. But I think there's better things than calorie counting and fixating on a certain numerical value when there's so many other dimensions of health.
Oh my goodness, quote everything you just said there because no, seriously. And as a nurse, as you were saying, the data point, I always say, for new nurses, I also teach nursing school. So the new nurses, shout out to you new nurses. So we always talk about, they'll be like, oh my goodness, the blood pressure is 87 over, no, that's too low.
That's a low blood pressure.
but they'll say something. I'm like, okay. Like, I'm unimpressed. I go, well, what's your assessment? What else is there? Well, do they look like their blood pressure is 87? Are they dizzy? There's all these other data points. So when you said weight is a data point, but you're also caring about the fact, are they moving? How do they feel? Are they fueling their body appropriately? I can respect that and appreciate that. I'll go on and on about that, but I can respect that. So quote that.
Okay.
What you just said. When I say quote that means that's good. Okay, so let's go to the next one because I want to make sure we get in all of these things. Simplifying tasks. What do you mean by that?
So, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but and you're saying like, I'm going to do this in the morning. Okay, let's get real specific and like, let's simplify it. Let's make it something that you can do. So if you have any hesitation about building strength, that we are overcomplicating it. Like it needs to be something you can do every day with ease. And so simplifying, if all you can commit to is, we'll use planks since you talked about those, but like,
no, let's not use planks. I ain't doing that. I'm sorry. You can forget that.
Let's just say running doesn't sound good. Planks doesn't sound good, but like going for a walk or walking on the treadmill does sound good. And you feel like you can do that and you can manage it and then you would do it. And you would simplify it. And once you can do it and it is simple and it's part of your everyday, then we can add more in. Until that point, like there's no point in overcomplicating it because you're just not going to do it. It means you're going to think it's too hard. Your brain's going to be like, nope, that's complicated and I can't do that. So like a 4-part workout, if that isn't where you're at mentally, then we need to simplify it. So it is figuring out stuff that you can do and make it simple. Is what I would say with that.
So, I mean, you touched on it, 1 minute is better than no minutes, but literally finding the task as you do with your clients is finding the thing that feels good to them and doing it a certain number, just doing it, not necessarily saying I'm gonna do it for 30 minutes. Do you tell people to kind of put a time on it or do you kind of just like do it until you don't feel like it? Maybe that's a bad thing to say.
It's so I definitely believe in like the personalized coaching model. There's no one size fits all, but I would say one thing that I do is I have like kind of daily movement challenges. And, once you've kind of done like a month of them, if you don't like the current one, then you can just pick a different one. And every day there's different. So like today was meditative practice, but yesterday was jumping jacks. And let's say you really don't like jumping jacks and you really like reverse crunches. Well, then just swap them out. And you start with those. And so that daily movement challenge is something so simple that you can do it anywhere, anytime, in your clothes, folding laundry, like whatever. You don't have to make this big to do, but it usually starts you into being like, oh, well, what else could I do? Oh, yeah. How could I do more? Because I liked how that felt. It was easy, like it's so simple that you could do it. And then from there, at some point you're like, yeah, I like doing this. I want to do more of it. Your brain is like, this is cool. That's literally like how it starts. It's getting started. I mean, so I'm also a chemistry teacher, a physics teacher. Like I understand this principle of momentum and like that initial input and getting over that initial force, that block. Once we get past that, the sky's the limit. It is like I literally started with one day I was like, I think I'll go running. Was never a runner until college. And then I was like, oh, I kind of like this. And then within 2 years, I'd run my first marathon.
Wow.
Now, not everybody has like that. Like, that's just my personality. But it was finding something that I really enjoyed. That's the piece that, it's finding something that you enjoy, and then you just want to do it more because you enjoy it. And typically when we feel good in our body, we typically want to do more things that make our body feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, finding, again, you're stressing, find a thing that makes you feel good because, how many, you have the little workout tapes or whatever, like, and you're like, oh, let me do this with, Suzanne Summers or that's an old reference right there.
Yes.
you know, People know her for what, Three's Company, but I'm talking about when she was in Step by Step, like TGI Friday sort of stuff on ABC. Anyway, you may be too young for that, but anyway, but like you're like, oh, I hate doing these stupid workout tapes or whatever, and you're not going to stick with it. You're literally telling me find the thing that you love to do, and your body feels good doing it, and then and then kind of do it and keep going. So I appreciate that advice right there. So hold on, let's go to the next one. Accountability. We already talked about this, but it definitely matters. I know it does.
1000%. Yeah, I mean, like if you can't do it, you hold yourself accountable to it, then it's time to like up the level. And I mean, like if you have like your ride or die best friend you're going to do stuff with, you sign up for a class, like you hire a coach, you have some external factor holding you accountable. I don't know what the percentage is, but I know you're like way, way, way more likely to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. An external motivator.
Yeah, and that's it.
Right.
So that's all you can say really about that one. Okay, so I'm glad that you came on the show because I've got a little bit of coaching a little bit about what kind of mindset, and then also just encouraging me to find something that feels good. So I definitely can appreciate that. So let's get into our next segment about your best, Alli, business advice for online coaches after this brief break. Okay, so Alli, I am very much interested in your best online business advice for our coaches. What is it?
Okay, so I would say it's a two thing. If you have an idea in your head that you can help people, you can serve people, you have expertise, and you feel called to do this, do it scared. Do it before you're ready. Start. It definitely is in alignment with me in terms of just getting started and doing stuff, even if it scares me, even if it is uncomfortable, even if it's your first time, and testing the waters. So I literally woke up one day, just like I woke up one day and was like, I think of running, and I was like, I'm going to start a business, and I figured out how to file an LLC. And that same day, I just was like, I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm doing it. And I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't. I mean, entrepreneurship is like just it's going to be a lifelong process. But I do things even before I'm ready. I put myself in rooms and reach out to do things that I'm like, I've never done this before, but I love it and I love the challenge. That's what that would probably be my best business advice.
Totally makes sense to me because, we're a little bit of the entrepreneurs, a little bit of the diving head first into everything, but that's okay though. Making sure that you dive head first and just get in there and do it. Whether people say do it messy, do it messy. It does not have to be perfect. Right. And that's definitely something that has been a constant thread throughout this show for sure. Of encouraging people to do things just a little messy.
I think that's important to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to get to our next segment. Let's connect. The segment is all about connecting our guests with you guys who are listening and watching. So I asked Alli, who would you like to pull into your inner circle?
Yeah. So I want to learn more about podcasting. So podcasters, podcasting managers, editors, all of that. I definitely want to learn more about copywriting and branding and sales and marketing. I'm a learner at heart, so I'm totally open to anyone who is in the entrepreneur sphere and has their niche, and they want to, and they consider themselves an educator. So I'm an educator. I love and respect anyone in this space that is teaching and helping others grow their business in any way. So I listed some, but like I really am open-minded to just people on this space helping, teaching, reaching others.
Gotcha. So if you are a podcast educator, are you starting a podcast, Alli, or do you already have one?
I do not yet have a podcast. I am considering starting one. I would also say just people who are doing, live stream events and all of that. I know that's an area that I definitely want to grow into and am learning about. And so, yeah, I mean, you're doing a phenomenal job.
I know. It's like, girl, I know.
I know. Right.
This is what I do virtual events for sure, and do live streams like this one. So
I can tell this is not your first time doing this.
It's not, but the funny part about it is I really sucked at it when I first started, and I was like, oh my God, my hair, blah, 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 blah. But, as I grew into it and did it more and more and more, and, with this show, it's grown the muscle, right? It's a muscle. Oh my goodness. There you go. I would encourage you to do a podcast about this, because there's so many people who need this, and to hear what you're saying. I know for me, just you saying one episode on finding the thing that feels good for you with exercise or, moving your body, just that episode alone would be life-changing for people. We're like, oh, I really don't have to get those tapes out. I could just... I could maybe dance to a song, that I really love, or I really could, walk the dog I love walking the dog. I love the dog. Let me walk the dog.
Yes.
Simple things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's so funny that you said dance party, because that literally was what I did today as part of my moving my body. I just put on some music and I started dancing, and people don't even qualify those things though. They just don't, they dismiss them.
I know. Them. Well, when I think about that, I think about hip hop dance classes. I'm like, no, they're going to be having you doing some twisty moves. I'm like, I ain't doing all that. But so my favorite, boy band song, I will get down to it. So, I have no problem with that. But I encourage you to do a podcast if that is what your heart desire. Obviously, you can't do something you're not into, but if that's what you want to do, I fully support that.
I love that.
I think it would be a great idea for people like myself who, do have those mindset blocks and issues there. If you want to do a live stream or an event, I got you there, girl.
I know you do. I'm excited about this. I'm excited to be connected.
Yes, I'm telling you, there's so many, especially in, I'm not even saying the fitness world. We're talking, it's beyond fitness. It's beyond I don't know. It's beyond nutrition. It's a mindset, and I don't always put those things together. Fitness, mindset, how it all goes together. So nutrition, I don't always put those things together, but now I do because of you, Alli.
Thank you.
Okay. So, if that's you, if you, know people who are in the podcast industry that could help Alli get started on that podcast, if you, are a copywriter, or you're a branding expert, messaging expert, she would love to learn more about you. Go ahead and put yourself in the comments. Say, hey, Alli, that's me. Or if you know somebody, tag them down there and say, hey, this girl, she's going places. She's talking about mindset. She's talking about fitness, nutrition, and she really can bring it together. And, especially if you have clients that could use her. I know I could use her. So make sure you let us know in the comments, and let Alli know how awesome this episode was, because I know it definitely changed some things in my mind as I'm growing just mentally from doing this. You remember, this is online coaches who are teaching other online coaches. So I really appreciate it, Alli.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So guys, this I'm so excited that Alli was able to do this. I'd like to thank her, Alli Privitt, for being on the show today. And if you are an online coach like Alli and that you have an amazing message and you're transforming people and changing their perspectives of certain things like exercise for me, we'd love to have you on the show. Go to fempreneuronline.com/guests to apply to be on the show. And so at the end of every episode, we always say, who's next? Cut. Okay, let me
Cut.
cut. So for everybody, if you're watching this right now, we do a behind the scenes kind of thing where we kind of do the finishing touches of the show and how we need it to be live because I got to get it on tape.
It's important.
It's very important because I don't want her to do anything else that she doesn't need to do. But yeah, I really appreciate you doing this. For one, I really do think that your show would be good. And two, if you are interested in live streaming, for anybody who's interested in live streaming, I tell them go to Tiffany Lee Bymaster, Coach Glitter.
Okay.
She's the person who taught me.
Okay.
And I had her on my event, Slay Your Content, and I've learned everything I've learned from Tiffany. So I always go to Tiffany if you want to know about live streaming. But anyway, okay, so let's go to private chats. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take myself off the screen and I'm going to mute myself. And all you have to do is just say the 3 things and then just put a little pause in between each of those things so we can edit,
Don't ramble through all 3. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm going to take myself off the screen and I'm going to mute myself.
All right. Hey, I'm Alli Privitt, and you're listening to the Fempreneur Coach Connection. Hey, I'm Alli Privitt, and you're watching the Fempreneur Coach Connection. Hey, I'm Alli Privitt, and we're talking about becoming the strongest version of yourself, only on the Fempreneur Coach Connection.
Yay. Okay, guys, thank you for watching live. Cut. Let me end the broadcast.